The Leap Foundation proudly presents the Meet the Mentor podcast with Dr. Bill Dorfman. Dr. Bill is a TV host, New York Times best-selling author, two-time Guinness World Book record holder, fitness guru, celebrity cosmetic dentist, and philanthropist who founded the Leap Foundation. Here's Dr. Bill.
Hey, Dr. Bill here. So I am super duper excited to introduce you to my friend and our next mentor. Why do we do this? Okay, we have been doing Leap now for 15 years, and it's been a phenomenal experience and keeps growing and growing and growing. 2020, big pivot, right? I mean, we had to do it virtually. Last year, we did it virtually and we did it live for about 50 students. We're hoping that 2022 will be full on live and virtual, like to the end of the universe. I mean, I think like 10,000 students, hope. So we do have the dates. We just got them. It will be July 17th to the 24th, back at UCLA again. And I think they're going to probably have the same rule where you need to be vaccinated in order to be in the program and stay on campus. So go get vaccinated, and we should have an amazing lineup. Our Meet the Mentor podcast has exploded. We're in the top 2.5% of all podcasts worldwide. It's crazy. You're like number 1 in Yemen, number 2 in Iceland, number 3 in Finland. Like, I don't even know people there. And we don't even promote it. It's just crazy. And so today we have a really special guest. I've actually known Lance, I just looked in his chart, since 2005. So let me read a little intro and we'll get right into this. Lance Bass is the quintessential illustration of a highly successful and driven jack of all trades: singer, host, actor, producer, writer, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and yes, cosmonaut. Beyond his fame as a member of the phenomenally successful group NSYNC, where the group sold an impressive 80 million plus records worldwide, Bass has made himself a household name with countless career highlights in music, including multiple Grammy nominations, 2 Diamond RIAA Awards, MTV Video Music Awards, American Music Awards, People's Choice Awards, and even an Oscar nomination for his smash hit, Music of My Heart. He is also a host of shows such as Entertainment Tonight and Bachelor in Paradise, which my kids love. Lance is also an investor, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and soon to be father of twins, just like me. So it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to our show, Lance. How are you?
I'm doing good, Doctor. How are you?
I'm great. Let's just jump right into it. How did it all start? I mean, at what point in your life did you say, you know what, like, I want to get into entertainment?
Yeah. It started early for me. As a kid, I grew up in a very small town of like 2,000 people. And, being a closeted kid, it was very hard for a boy to like music and to like dancing and all that, and want to go into that field. So I had to really kind of, not focus on that. My sister always did all those, but I was so jealous that she would get to do all the, that type of stuff. And I secretly wanted to be a part of it. But when I was about 10 years old, I moved to another town called Clinton, which was a little bigger of a town, but they were known for music. It was a town that had the #1 show choir in the world. And all my friends, my new friends there, their older brothers and sisters were in the groups. And it was just, that's what you did. You either played football or you were in this #1 show choir. So it was a lot easier for me to get into music and entertainment because everyone in the town was. And I didn't feel like I was being outed at all. I was just being very supported. So, I was probably one of the first times I realized, like, this is what I want to do. I joined this group called Mississippi Showstoppers, and I think I was 13 years old. And what they do is they audition all these kids in Mississippi, and then they get a troupe of like 40 kids. And we worked for the Agriculture Museum. We got paid $100 a year. I mean, that was big for 13-year-old. And we would go around the country singing songs from Mississippi artists to promote the state. So we would go to DC and New York and all these different places to really, to promote our state and show what we can do there. And so that kind of got my feet wet with entertainment. And that's how I got introduced to this guy, Bob Westbrook, who was our vocal coach for this group. And a few of my friends decided we wanted to compete at the state fairs. And so we created my very first boy band, which back in those days, there was no such word as a boy band, but we created this boy band of 7 guys called Seven Card Stud. It was horrible. I mean, it was all this like an a cappella group. And we would go perform at state fairs and try to win competitions. But it was because of that vocal coach that I met Justin Timberlake, and he had the same vocal coach. And so when they were putting together NSYNC, Chris Kirkpatrick formed the group, and he asked Justin and JC to join, and then they ran into Joey Fatone and he joined the band. And then they lost their bass singer, and I was a true bass since I was 14 years old. And Bob said to Justin, look, I got the perfect guy for this, but his mom will never let him do it. So they convinced me to come down to Orlando, meet the guys, immediately fell in love with them, thought it was just an incredible group. We sang the Star Spangled Banner together, and there was just some kind of magic that happened. And I knew at that moment, this was going to be my career.
So did you feel like that was probably like your big break into entertainment?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, it's, I had great mentors, and it's so great to have mentors growing up, having that teacher that you really just, loved. And I mean, David Fair, my show choir director of attaché at this high school in Clinton, he's the one who instilled everything in me that I use today. I'm the first on set and I'm the last on set to leave, because I just want to work really, really hard. And it's because of this mentor I had at such an early age. He really just kind of set up what I was going to be like in this business. So having someone like that was just really incredible and to encourage me to get in this business. But it was that moment of joining NSYNC where it was the turning point, where I knew that I could actually make a career out of this.
You joined this group. You had no idea what was going to happen after that, right? I mean, you just thought you joined an a cappella group and you guys were going to make some things. Like, when did it first hit you like, oh my gosh, this thing is going to be enormous?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was definitely not a dancer at all. I never took dance classes or anything like that. But, with show choir, you learned how to do, the show choir dancing. So at least it taught me how to learn choreography and, and how to, quickly pick up things. But when we joined NSYNC, I thought it was an a cappella group. I didn't know we would be dancing at all. And so after a couple of weeks of knowing the guys, were like, okay, we're going to choreography class. I'm like, what? So I had to learn very quickly. I'd have to stay way later with a choreographer, and and I basically had to learn how to dance within a few months, which was pretty crazy. And yeah, I mean, so I didn't know that a group like ours would work in America. So my expectations were, we would just be the local a cappella group that Disney World hired, and we would just be that group that's like going around the park singing a cappellas. That was as big as I thought it could get at the beginning. And then as time went on, and it took us forever to get a record deal, like no one wanted to sign us. No one in America wanted to sign us. And then we finally got signed to BMG Areola in Munich, Germany, because apparently the biggest market over in Europe was this thing called boy bands. And there was 20 of them. And there was a group called the Backstreet Boys that were just killing it overseas. And this, Germany just loves these American bands. So they signed us, we went over, and it was such a strange experience, because before we even got to Germany, we were on the covers of all the magazines. Like it was such an overnight situation there, where we went from being unknown to one of the biggest bands in Europe.
Like the Beatles, when the Beatles came to the US, right?
Exactly. And they started in Germany also. Yeah, couldn't get signed. So for 2 years, we lived in Germany, and we were one of the biggest bands around, but it didn't seem real to me because I didn't know anything about the German television and German radio. It's like, the Tonight Show and all that, SNL. I didn't know the big shows that we were doing. It didn't mean anything to me. So it just felt like a fake life. And then you would come home to Orlando, and your friends are like, think you're lying. They're like, really? Okay, people like chase you down the street in Europe, and you can't even get arrested in America. So we never thought that we would be able to come to America. We didn't think that this country would accept a group like ours. And then that changed very quickly. We launched in America in '98, and we did, we came out with our first song, I Want You Back, which did okay. I think it hit the top 30, and for us that was disappointing because we were used to like number ones with every release that we do. But now we have a little bit of like slap back down to reality of like, all right, you're starting over. You are starting over in this country. And we did. We started back in the clubs and trying to win over the fan base. But it wasn't until we got offered a Disney Channel special that it blew us up. They started doing these hour specials, and it was the first time America really got to see us as personalities. And so they spent an hour with us, really getting to know us and going home with us. But then the through line was this concert that we put on, and they played that thing 2 times a day for 6 months on the Disney Channel. And it went from, I've heard of that group, to holy crap. I mean, we sold 10 million records within the next year. So, I mean, that's what just really blew us up here in America.
And then, I got to think that at a certain point, this had to be kind of horrifying too. I mean, here you are experiencing all this success. You grow up in this small town, religious, city. Now, all of a sudden, you're all over the world. Your group became bigger than life. You're this, heartthrob. Girls are throwing themselves at you, and you're doing concerts. And inside, I read your book. I mean, there's a lot of turmoil. How did you deal with all that?
It was a pretty lonely journey. I started with NSYNC when I was 16. So, that's the age where you really start figuring out yourself. And especially for a closeted person, it's the scary time in life, because all your friends are starting to date, and you're starting to realize, oh my gosh, like I have to really deal with my sexuality right now. And as I was starting to deal with my sexuality, being in high school, I got put in this group, and in a way, it was a great thing for a closeted person, because then you had an excuse of not dating, because you're like, I'm too busy. Like, I'm trying to get my career up. So I have no time for relationships. And that only lasts for a little while, because then eventually you get to the point where, well, all the other guys are dating right now and they have girlfriends. Well,
the hormones kick in.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, and it was a scary time because, look, the 90s was a different time. Coming out of the closet in the music industry was a career killer. You were very encouraged never to talk about your personal life. And I thought that, I had 4 of my best friends, career in my hands. And that any moment, if anyone figured me out, that it would destroy our group. Like the group would be done. And I honestly can't tell you if that would have been the case or not.
Did they know?
No, they didn't know. No one knew. I mean, I barely told myself. and that was the lonely part about it, is I'm the only one that I could talk to about it, so it's very, confusing. I mean, you don't even have a counselor to talk to. You were so scared to tell anyone because you did not want your secret out. Yeah, I mean, it was, a hard time, and I'm glad that I was able to, be able to be myself and be able to come out because there was no way I could hide it anymore. I just knew that. I mean, I know lots of people even today that, can live that life. And I couldn't anymore. There was just no way of hiding it. And I love hard, and so the first time I fell in love with someone was when I knew, okay, this is what real love feels like. I'm definitely gay, and I need to tell my story.
Well, one of the things we teach at Leap is go big or go home. And not many people come out on the cover of People magazine, right? So I would say that was a go big.
Well, I'm glad that people don't have to come out on the cover of People magazine anymore. That is an incredible thing to know, that it's not such a big deal to come out anymore. The industry is just full of LGBT artists. I mean, just at the VMAs last weekend, it was such an amazing feeling to walk around the VMAs and see all these, out musicians, Troye Sivan and Kim Petras. And I mean, and it's a whole different world. Lil Nas X. I mean, and I think back 20 years ago when I was doing the VMAs, and there was not one out person at all. It would be it would be a career killer. It just really would. So just to see how far we've come in this business 20 years ago is just incredible.
And you know what? I want to focus on the 20 years thing, because that's a big thing. You started in this band 20 years ago when you were 16 years old. You're almost 36 now, right? And you're still relevant in entertainment. And that's a big thing, I mean, a lot of people have these big careers for a minute and then they're gone. How did you stay relevant? How did you continue to stay in the limelight, to stay in entertainment? I mean, I've seen you do stuff. I actually got to be on your show in New York, which was fun. And I've been on, your podcast and a lot of things that you've done. But how do you keep reinventing yourself?
I think you have to just keep following your passions. I was so lucky to be able to start my career in such a big way with NSYNC, which has afforded me the ability to do the things that I'm passionate about and that I love. I knew I didn't want to stay in the music industry because it was just too volatile for me. Again, being a closeted musician, it just was not the world for me. And I got burned by Lou Pearlman and our record label, and it was just an icky situation. So I knew that I didn't want to stay in music, but my passion was film and television. That's something that I was just way more creative with, even with NSYNC. Like, I was the one writing the music videos and, doing anything digital. If it was film, television, like that's what I really like to focus on. So I knew when I left NSYNC, that basically I'd have to start a new career. And I knew I'd have to start at the ground up. And that's what I did. With the help of William Morris, I started creating shows and started as a little junior producer trying to get things sold and done. And it took years to get the cred to really start producing real television and film and getting things greenlit. Because if you do what you're passionate about, things are going to, happen the way it's supposed to happen. I know that I probably won't ever be a part of something as big as NSYNC ever. So I'm never striving for that. Like, I'm never been like, well, if this movie isn't as big as, selling 10 million records, then it's just not, successful for me. My expectations had to be, lowered a lot with a new career that I was starting with television and film. And so, I got my feet wet. I paid my dues. I hosted horrible television shows. I produced horrible TV shows and films just to, really get, to the level I'm at today. And I'm happy that my production company is doing just really high quality things now. But, it took a while to get there, just kind of how it took a while for NSYNC to get to the level it did.
How do you deal with jealousy? Because I know there's a lot of it in the entertainment world.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it in the dental world, and we're not even as highly visible as you guys are.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's much jealousy, but just competition. People, and a healthy competition is very good. Look at us and the Backstreet Boys. If it wasn't for the Backstreet Boys, we wouldn't have kept leveling up so quickly, because we were always trying to stay relevant and always trying to outdo them. And they were doing the same thing. So it kept our bands getting better and better. So healthy competition is, I think, really great. But also can be very frustrating, especially in television and film, because there's so many people, that are creating content right now. I just learned a fact today that Netflix gets 600 fully written scripts a week to look at. So, I mean, it is nuts, the competition out there. And it can be cutthroat, and that's why you have to have the right team. And, in every business, it really is a lot of the times not what you know, but who you know. And so you have to learn how to leverage all of your contacts along with great content. It has to be kind of a perfect storm for things to be greenlit today.
And I think there's something else that we really need to talk about, because a lot of young people don't really realize how much work it takes. Like, they just think people become famous overnight,
Yeah.
And yeah, right. I mean, they really do, I mean, I'm sure you're working all the time to keep relevant, to keep reinventing, to keep pivoting. What is that like?
Tiring. It's my hands in so many different things right now. With NSYNC, to me, it was a little easier because I had my focus, right? And it was such a juggernaut that all I had time to focus on was NSYNC every day, 24/7, never had a break from it. So in a way, it was easier because I knew, what hat I was wearing. Anyway, wait, what was I saying? Yeah. Wait, what was I saying?
Yeah, NSYNC, it was easy because you had your juggernaut.
Oh yeah, so I'd always have the NSYNC hat on, right? And it was just so easy to focus on that and know exactly what my role was. But then when I started doing other things like television and film and doing my investing things and my hosting and opening up restaurants and bars, there's so many hats that I have to wear and so many projects I have to juggle. It gets a little overwhelming, and that's why you have to make sure that you have the right teams on every project. Because, I can't be physically running every single one of these companies. It's impossible. So I have to manage all of this. So I definitely have to say I work harder these days than I ever did with NSYNC, just because there are so many different things happening. But NSYNC really trained me at an early age to be busy. I mean, that schedule was so insane. So I know how to deal with my career now a lot easier, because I feel like if I'm not doing anything every hour of the day, then I'm not working hard enough. So I'm constantly just always.
I totally relate.
Yeah.
If I were a young student watching this right now and I wanted to have a career in music like you had, what would you say are the important things for me to be doing right now?
Yeah.
School-wise, extracurricular and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, one thing, especially if you want to get into this industry and be an artist, being a musician and artist is one thing. Great. Everyone can do that. You can go sing at the coffee shop down the street anytime you want. To make a career out of it, it's a business. So I think the most important thing for a new artist today is take a business class, learn the music business side of this, because you have to treat your business as a business. And I think that's the biggest mistake artists can have, is being like, well, I'm just a true artist. Well, no, then you don't need to be in this business. So to have your own back, knowing what's right and wrong in this business, making sure you sign the right contracts, getting, a good entertainment lawyer behind you, having that in the back of your mind as you start your career is very key. On top of that, it's rehearse. Just always work on your craft. Just like you see violinists and all that. I mean, they rehearse every single day just to get better and keep your craft, at this level. So you constantly have to keep working on getting better and better. And to really kind of get your foot in the door, which is, I mean, it's different these days. Back in my day, it was somewhat a little easier, to get signed, because if you had someone support you and believe in you, then you could go, present to different record labels and they would, sign you. But now today, there's TikTok and Instagram and all these different platforms where all these musicians are putting out everything. And so people are getting discovered in so many different ways. So be creative. TikTok's a great place to really start a fan base. And I think labels that are signing people, if you come in with a great fan base, I mean, you have an easier chance of getting signed. starting local too is a big thing. So as you're kind of being creative over here, trying on the national stage to get noticed, a really great way to get noticed is, locally at your local radio station, because the support of local radio really helps new artists grow, because it really does take radio to, start your career. So if it's getting to know them, if it's interning at a radio station, I think that is incredible to really, or a record label, but just to kind of get in there, boots on the ground, helping, with an internship at one of these places. There's nothing like learning from the people that are doing it right now. It's the best college you can get.
Yeah, those are great points. In your entire career, what would you say was your biggest challenge, and how did you overcome that?
Ooh, in my career, the biggest challenge that I've come across is people, now that I've changed the careers into TV film, getting the industry to not look at me as that 16-year-old NSYNC guy. People still put me in that box of like, oh, that teenager, right? And I'm like, well, not that guy anymore. So the thing that when I first started, that was really difficult was, yes, everyone would meet with me, to pitch them shows, but they were only meeting with me to meet me. They didn't really care to listen to my ideas or really greenlight anything. They just wanted to, meet me. So I didn't know what was real or not at the beginning. And so I had to really kind of navigate that and figure out like, okay, why are none of my shows being sold, but I'm meeting with the tops of every network and film studio. And it's because they just really kind of typecast me into that teenage NSYNC guy. And so I didn't really get much respect at all as a real legit television producer and writer.
I appreciate that. One of the things I love about you, we teach at LEAP, and I always feel like if kids go to LEAP and they just walk away with these two things, I feel like I did my job. Number one is don't wait for opportunities to make, and you certainly do that. Secondly, when you do get an opportunity, don't take it, master it. And you do that as well. I just saw not a pilot, but the first episode of your new show, and I think it is phenomenal. And it is so far outside the box of like a 16-year-old boy band. How did you develop that? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's Unicorn Hunters is just a fun show, and yes, it's one of those shows that puts me in a different light. I've been a businessman and an investor for the last 10 years, but it's been very private. It's something that the public really wouldn't know. It's nothing sexy, right? So to be able to talk about. But when this opportunity came around to join this panel of Unicorn Hunters, it was just an incredible opportunity to me to show the world what I am.
Well, tell them who's on the panel. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, you got Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple. You have the 43rd Treasurer of the United States. You have Joe Biden, CFO. You have the CEO of SheWorks. Some really, really high quality people. And then you have me, which at first people would be like, wait a minute, NSYNC, Lance Bass is like, what does he have to do with any of this? But it's really fun to show people that I do know what I'm talking about. And I think people are very surprised at what things that I do have my hands in, a lot of things that I've invested in, and to see my entrepreneur side, because even as a kid, I was always an entrepreneur. Within NSYNC, my entrepreneur brain just went crazy, even as a teenager, of what we should be doing and the different things we could create and the marketing behind it and what merchandise we can do, and if we can do this tour over here. So I was always interested in the business aspect of NSYNC.
That's awesome. So what's next? I know you guys are expecting you're going to have twins within the next month or two.
Yeah, next is being the best dad I can be. The kids will be here any day now, so I'm excited to. Fortunately and unfortunately, all my projects are kind of all going at the same time right now, and it's the worst timing ever to have kids. But I'm gonna have to deal with it and figure it out. So I'm trying to button up tons of these projects before I have to take a little paternity leave and get everything developed so we can start shooting these next spring. So yeah, I just want to focus
You're on top of Christmas. You already got your Christmas stuff up.
Well, this is actually Halloween. I know.
Okay.
I do Christmas Halloween trees. It's a thing. It's going to be the new trend. Get on board.
All right.
So this is all like Halloween decorated. I mean, Halloween is my favorite time of year, and I'm super excited that the kids are going to be born before Halloween, because if they were born after Halloween, I'd be highly disappointed. But they're going to be Halloween babies. So that's going to be incredible. And then, yeah, to continue. And then I'm opening up my brand new club the same exact week also. So, that's going to be a little overwhelming, but I'm excited. I've been working on this club for quite a while, and it's looking gorgeous. And I'm excited to open up this dance floor and bring a new discotheque to the city, and have a really good time.
Well, that's cool. What's it called?
We don't know the name just yet. It's hard naming a club, because whatever you name it, pretty much everyone's going to hate. So you got to come up with a name that just works good for marketing and whatever. So, we'll figure out what it is. Hopefully, maybe a week before we actually open.
All right. Lance, if you had to give me like one word that you would live and die by, just like to describe you and what motivates and drives you, what would that word be?
It's tenacity for sure. I mean, you just gotta keep going on. One thing that I've learned is, you're going to be told no 99% of the time, and you can't take it personally, and you can't get discouraged. You just have to keep going, because that 1% chance is coming. That opportunity is coming. You gotta stick with it. If you're passionate about it and you truly believe in it, I always say, don't put that as your sole thing, just have other things going on so you can fall back on things. But if you're passionate about something, just keep going, because some of my projects that are sold right now, it took me over 10 years. One project took 15 years to finally be made. So, it'll eventually happen, but I didn't put all my eggs in one basket.
I love that. Well, we share. We share the word. Mine is also tenacity. Anytime anybody asks me that, and I think that one of the things that young students really need to learn is tenacity and how hard you have to work. Kids come up to me at LEAP all the time, say, Dr. Bill, what's the secret of success? It's like they want a pill. I'm like, the secret isn't a secret. You got to work your buns off. That's the secret.
And don't listen to the outside world. There's always going to be people trying to tear you down, and always outside influence really affects what you're doing. So kind of ignore the haters and just keep doing what you're doing.
I agree so much. Lance, thank you so much. Congratulations on the babies. I'm super excited for you. When they come, I'm going to come over, and I'd love to meet them. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know the kids are going to love this. You're awesome, and stay awesome.
Thank you, Dr. Bill. Super excited. Yay!
All right, Dr. Bill, over and out.
To learn more about the LEAP Foundation, go to leapfoundation.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Leap Foundation or on Instagram at Leap Foundation. Listen to the Meet the Mentor podcast with Dr. Bill Dorfman on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.